Hello, welcome to the Church of Pleasure here in the enchanted kingdom of Hermione. The good Empress is off in Vancouver to see the Emil and the Nitrates, but I figured I'd stay and look after the Minister of Defense and hold the fort, try to save myself a bit of money, because I went and spent the money I would have spent at this on another box set. Yes, I am that sucker. 3 box sets, 4 box sets in 2 weeks. What the hell? I say, man, I can't keep it up. But, sometimes duty calls. And I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels. I remember his name. David Hurwitz, is it? Classical music, lunatic, really into recording, classical music recordings. I swore I wasn't going to too much about classical, but this one I got to talk about. Because I am a big fan of Charlie Ives. And it's sort of timely to have Ives pop into my life because, of course, with all things American being kind of taboo right now here in Canada, it's nice to be able to revel in a true American oddball visionary who almost assuredly would have been just completely outraged at what's going on with what his countrymen are trying to pull right now. And Hurwitz pointed out he had a new box that he was talking about. I was like, wait a minute. Oh. And it's a good one, babe. I'll tell you. Because first of all, the price point was acceptable. It's 23 discs. And it came in at under $100 all in, maybe $85. Sony Classical, which now, of course, the world is either Universal or it's Sony BMG, whatever. And so they had access to all, then it was like, how are they going to do this? They could have just put a box set of all these pieces out, but it's kind of a jumble. And there's some duplication in here, which makes it difficult. So a nerdy completist set was out. There was no consistency of performers, there was no consistency of anything. But there was a consistency of record labels. And CBS was one of the great, Columbia Records, was one of the great champions of Ives' music right from the get-go. And to a lesser extent, so was RCA. And of course, when these records were being made and being released to the public, these two companies were competitors. But since they've been folded into the loving corporate embrace of, Sony BMG, they are all now kith and kin and available for plunder. And what a plunder. What we have here are basically every major Ives release that Columbia Records put out, starting with the first one in in the very earliest possible day. Now, clamshell, I'm not crazy about these, but it's cheap. You do have to take some care or you'll rip them or tear them. But you know what? It wasn't $200, so I'm not going to whine. You get a pretty darn comprehensive book. And this is smart. They have Kevin Sherwin writing Vitality, Reality, and Substance. The Music of Charles Ives. Now, this is an 11-page essay. And it's a good little essay. But you know what? If you're buying this box, you already know all this stuff. It's just a little aperitif. The book then shows you, and I should be doing it, you get reproductions, very, very, very accurate, I will say, reproductions of the LPs in shrunk down CD form. Now, a nerd like me absolutely loves this stuff, the attention to detail, and even down to the period correct label. All it took was somebody to think, we should make this look just like the record. Does anybody have a copy of that? What font? They just take and it wasn't probably expensive to do, but it was somebody thought to do it. And for people like me, this makes a lot of big difference. So you have that, and then you have in the book, you have a listing of what's there. The original releases for all the Matrix nerds. I am not one. And then recorded New York City, Liederkranz Hall. These are all the Actually, these might even be more. Oh, okay, this is more information than that was on the original sleeve. At least on that one. That one was released as an LP in, what year was that? Is it going to tell me? 1949. So there you go. This is going to be one of the first ever LPs. Non-breakable. Good thing. This is, of course, the groundbreaking first. This is where the world kind of discovered this piece. And we then go through, again, these are all, in their own way, very important recordings. You get this, the Sonata No. 1. These cheesy old covers are great. And it moves on through, basically, everything they did, marching into the 60s. You get this. Let's see what label we get. Oh, we get the gray and white label. And the thing is, now I checked a couple of these, and I'll get to this in a minute, but this is the second video I've done on this box, because the first one I did, I kind of got off on a tangent and said a bunch of stuff that turned out to be actually kind of dead wrong. So I'll clarify in a minute. But so yeah, Bernstein conducts Ives. These were a big deal. There's a great story about Ives listening to, was it Bernstein do? Was it? No, somebody do his second symphony. I don't think it was Bernstein. And listening to it on the radio and not saying a word, which I would have liked to have been there for that. You get these in the mid 60s that I can't believe they sold a lot of these records. So they were kind of doing their patriotic duty as an American record label that took classical music seriously to do stuff like, there you go, William Masellos. Whatever happened to him? Needless to say, these are all, now I've got at least half of this in vinyl, but they are, there you go, the string quartet's great cover. I love this. I have probably better, I'm going to have to check, but they're tired. A lot of them, like my copy of the Kirkpatrick, is an original, shellac. It's not a clean surface. New music of Charles Ives. Don't think I have that one. Oh, it says text enclosed. No, too much to ask. I thought that might be a bit much. Yeah, these are all, now this is the one that I got hung up on. This came out in quadraphonic, and this was in a kind of a weird, murky point in the quad era, where, like in the quad era, they started out with quad records with a big gold band around there, quad, and because they wanted everybody to know about this fabulous thing. But people kind of got it in their heads, we maybe shouldn't buy the quad version. We should buy the stereo version because we don't have a quad. We've got a stereo. And so the misperception persisted through the early days of quad that quad records were not compatible. That's because the CD4 quad records that RCA made weren't really compatible. They said they were, but they lied. They weren't. The SQ records were perfectly compatible. But because it was just too weird for most people, they didn't buy the quad records. So at one point, somebody at CBS said, maybe we should take the gold band off and just put quad at the top and not make a really big deal out of it. And so they did a series of quad records like that, and this was one of them. So now the quad version I have of this just says quad across the top. That's it. Even that proved to be alienating. This did come out in stereo. I thought this never came out in stereo. I was wrong. But what is unique, and then what happened was, we come to this is a favorite nerdy subject of mine, they decided even that was too much. And somebody said, well, these really, really are compatible, right? And they went, yeah, why don't we just put some records out in quad and just in quad only? And we'll put a little thing in the corner that says, by the way, this is in quad. It's perfectly good in stereo, don't worry. But it is, if you have a quad system, oh boy, is it going to sound great. And my old friend Big Tim, we called these ghost quads. And they were hard to spot because it looked, the front, you'd see Columbia, and the only ways you could tell, and they made about 35 of these. I found a list. There's a list on on the internet. Of course there is. And usually Columbia spines, and these don't have spines, sadly. Total nerdy complaint, but there you go. But in the old days, Columbia, they would have the hash thing at the top, the number. At the bottom would say Columbia Stereo. Or it would say Columbia Quadraphonic. But when the Ghost Quad era came along, it just said Columbia. And what's more, they didn't give it a special label. The Quad records had gold labels. In Canada, they had gray and red labels. Or I forget now. They had a variety of different labels in Canada. Anyway, this was the label for the original stereo issue. And where this is weird is that the number, the M30, whatever number it is, the 5-digit number, starting with 3, is not in a bold type. And I noticed that all the Ghost Quads had this feature. Every Ghost Quad I have has their records not in bold type, unlike most of the stereo. For instance, this one here, you'll notice the serial numbers in bold type. Strangely, this one's not in bold type, but it is in stereo. I'm pretty sure this is not in quadraphonic. I was really hoping it might be a quad only Ghost Quad, but alas, it's just before that period started. Therefore, I'm confident this is going to be just stereo. And of course, you're going to say, well, what difference is it going to make? What's going to be in the rear speakers? And if your answer is sound of the theater, you're probably right. So there you go. Nerd corner. Anyway, there you go. $80. This is thrift store money, folks. $3 a record. An absolute universe of fantastic music. Like I say, there's a few. David, who knows this stuff better than I do, says that there's almost no dross on it. There's an Normandy Second Symphony that he says is not transcendent. Otherwise, I mean, it's just a bit too much money to say to somebody, hey, you don't know much about classical music, go buy the Ives box. It's $100. But if you're somebody who's into challenging classical music, it's full of American patriotic tunes, and he plays tunes at the same time, and he's a real modern composer. He didn't compose hardly anything after about 1925. He started having health problems. He died in the 50s. But he was pretty dormant. He revised stuff a lot and whatnot. He did a lot of thinking, and I kind of understand that. Anyways, made my day to find out this came out. It's I'll die not having listened to at least a quarter of it, but that's how it goes with life. Anybody who's into Ives, you gotta buy it. It's just everything about it screams buy me. So there you have it. I'm that sucker. I bought it. I don't have no regrets. And yeah, there you go. I got more stuff in the pipeline. God knows. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. We're striking out for 1,000 subscribers. God knows why. But we're going to try and grasp the ring. So if you like this, tell other people, get them to subscribe. We'll turn it into some kind of weird CD cult or something. And we can have some fun while the world falls apart around us. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you soon.